And I see so many Latinas, so many working moms out there that are able to do the work they do because of the support they have. And my mom has always been that support from day one. And I want to bring my daughter along on, I have brought her along on the childhood, on the healing of the childhood, on the options and obstacles that were put in front of me, that I knew that if I continued the path that I had seen my father go through, I could expect my children to go down that path as well. And I could not afford, or I could not gamble that opportunity. I knew that.
Welcome to Adapt or Die, the show where high-stake leaders share real stories behind their biggest pivots. My name is Andreas Pedersen, and you are listening to our Power Without Permission miniseries, new raw stories designed to move you, the listener, from challenge to action. Today's guest is a recurring guest at the Adapt or Die podcast, and we had a fantastic conversation the last time, and now she's back in the role as the co-author of my new up-and-coming book, Power Without Permission. Welcome so much to the show, Carolina.
Thank you so much for having me again, and thank you for all those beautiful things.
They're all true.
You just, well, I am so proud that you see me in that light. Thank you for that.
We're going to jump straight into, and for the listeners who heard the first episode, there we focused a little bit more on sort of some of the main things she's gone through as a business owner. Today, we're going to focus a little bit about being the woman leader in this very male-dominated profession she's in. But it all started somewhere. So let's dive into that moment. Let's say, Carolina's 5 minutes before you had this what is going on moment. If I keep doing what I'm doing, it won't work out. And it doesn't have to be work related. It can be personal, business related, whatever it is. What's the first thing that comes to your mind where you had to risk it all and adapt?
It had to be about a couple of years ago, actually, when I came across you. And I was in my business, had been head in the business for many years. And that wake up moment, or that I knew I needed to do something. I had worked so hard in the business, and it felt like was just stagnant. And I was working day in, day out, and nothing, it wasn't growing. It was just there. And I needed help. I needed to get someone's outside perspective, outside knowledge, outside wisdom to come in and say, hey, I see these things. Watch out for that pothole. Watch out for that's coming up. And really, that was all you. That was all our conversations, our reflections, our digging down deep into even what we're going to talk about about the book, into childhood, into why we do the things we do, why we have the same patterns, why we have those reactions, and really take the time to reflect with someone's guide. You were that guide for me. And that's what really made that change for me.
Thank you for saying that. I will just push back on one thing. It's all you. You already have it in you. You're already amazing. I just helped you catalyst it.
100%. You can hike the mountain, but if you have a guide, I'm sure it is so much more easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to prep. It's easier to prep for the hike, right? You didn't carry me on your back to that zenith of the hike, but you said, hey, we're going to need water along the way. We're going to need this. We're going to need to prep. And that was the difference. It's that guide and person that challenges you and pushes back. That was the biggest change for me.
We talk a lot about doubt, and especially in this mini series, there has been a lot of the amazing co-author women on the podcast here that I talk to, and a lot of them have this inner critic or doubt, or am I really doing the right thing? How are you controlling that narrative, or were controlling the narrative before, and how are you doing it differently today?
That inner critic of doubt is constantly there. But I have to say, after the work and after the reflection work, it has diminished by, oh my gosh, 80%. Just last week, I had a an episode where someone close to in the leadership in within the company questioned whether I was doing something right or whether I had the capacity to do it. And for a mini second, it had me questioning myself. And it was instant where I shut it down. I said, no, even when others are questioning and are asking me to question myself, I'm not going to do it. Like, I know that I can. I know that I have the capacity and I know that I'm doing this in the right way. So I have to prove them wrong at this point.
I love the confidence. You have grown so much, Carolina. And for the listeners here, I hope it's okay if I share this, but when you and I started working, it wasn't that you didn't know what to do. You knew what to do. And I the big difference is you just didn't always do it. So sometimes you were just stuck on the specific topic, if it was firing an employee or hiring the right person or whatever it was. But to listeners, I have very seldomly worked with someone who's so incredibly, I'm trying not to swear, incredibly driven and have the ability to just, she and I can have a conversation and you just like, let's go, you take it into action, you get the results and you reflect on it. It's very rewarding to watch it, Carolina.
Fire away. Thank you. It has been an evolution. I won't say it happens overnight. Certainly does not happen overnight, but we have worked together for quite a few months now, and you're able to, even when we have a conversation, you notice my hesitation. You're like, okay, she's thinking. What are you thinking about? Why are you not saying what you think? Why are you stopping there? You feel some holding back there, and you're correct in that. I just need to we get to a point where we just need to stop doubting ourselves and take action.
Mhm.
And it's the action from whatever we need to push forward that's going to make us stronger and resilient. It's not going to be sitting in our thoughts. It's not going to be sitting in our emotions and feeling all the feels. Like, it's going to be taking action.
And last time you were on the podcast, we talked about a situation where your level of resilience and taking action, and I think it's worth telling this story again if the listeners weren't here for the first one, and you should go back and listen to it because I think that that episode was great. You said you had a situation in the company, there was a fire. Tell that story and how you showed up and how you would have shown up before and how you show up now.
So it was a Thursday afternoon. I was actually at a client's house when I got a text message, and it was a video of our tenant's side of the building. They had a car that was on fire. And of course, we're a painting company, so we have flammables. We have a storage room full of flammables, and that evening we had people inside the building even working there. And as soon as I saw the video, I said, "Oh my God." Like, little heart attack there, and breathed, made a call. I said, "Hey, what's going on? Firemen on their way, everything under control?" "Yes, you don't need to come." I said, "I am absolutely on my way. I am going. I need to come. I need to be there." And I showed up. Old me would have probably been like, "How could this had happened?" Probably would have been in tears, probably would have been like yelling left and right. And new me, I showed up. I said, "Okay." Got down. Everyone okay? Everyone accounted for. Went over to our tenant and asked, "How did this happen? Is everyone on your side okay?" You know, it was definitely one of those. On my way there, I was already planning how was I going to react. Say, okay, number one, I can't put the fire out. Number two, I need to just be their support and take one thing at a time. Like, one needs to be taken out. Let, in this case, let the smoke clear on its own and just tackle it. It is I believe I quoted it. It is the attitude we choose to step into that makes the difference, because there were a lot of mixed feelings when I got there. And once people see that you are in a calm state, then that also helps others match that level of energy, right? Um, so if we are the person to set the tone for that energy, it helps others to meet you there versus escalate that energy.
Yeah. You are hyper aware in the moment. You choose to take the action as a leader rather than as an individual. And I think you also have an understanding of accepting, Caroline. If I understand you correctly here, and I've learned from you, so sometimes you have this calmness to yourself, like, no, I can't impact the outcome anyway, so why get upset about it?
Right.
Um, let's move a little bit over to what we talked about or what you wrote in the book. I think the listeners here, tell them a little bit more on uh, basically your childhood, where you come from, where are you at today, what are all the amazing things that you have accomplished. Let's start there.
I was preparing a sandwich for lunchtime earlier today, and I was thinking that we were going to talk about this chapter, of course. And the way I was prepping my sandwich, I made it in a way that it was very similar to my elementary sandwiches. And this is a long answer to the question. But my childhood, I grew up in Mexico City. I was actually born in Mexico City, and I grew up here in the United States when I was brought over at the age of 8 years old. But that sandwich that I was making earlier, it was like a crumb of that 8-year-old sandwich was there, and I was able to almost taste my childhood and think of my childhood as I was prepping for this episode. I had a great childhood. My parents were together then. My dad, I was an only child. I was raised as an only child. And although my dad was this big, he still is this big Mexican macho man, he didn't make any differences whether he was raising a boy or raising a girl in my case. Whereas when I grew older, I saw him make those differences with his own wife. Whereas, oh, you belong in the kitchen kind of situation. For me, he set a different standard though. He always was very forward in saying, "Hey, you can do whatever you want. You can reach whatever goal you want." So he always gave me praise and confidence in myself. I will definitely be always grateful to him for that. He taught me that. He taught me sales because he was a great salesman. Um, although there was lots of selling even himself, not a lot of substance to his promises or his um actions. Well, lots of actions, but he did teach me. Unfortunately he was an alcoholic, and there were some tough lessons that came to through watching him destroy our family, ultimately destroying our family and also our relationship, because there were a lot of things that were promised, there very little coming through, and it left me to deal with what is that called? Emotionally immature parent, right? So a I had to grow up at a younger pace and mature younger than expected because of that.
Mhm.
And I think in the part of the chapter, it was one of the hardest lessons that he taught me was, disappointment comes from unmet expectations. And I just learned to not expect anything from him so that I wouldn't be disappointed. And that is the case to this day, right? My mother, because of that, she went through the same struggles with him, with as a wife, dealing with unfaithfulness, dealing with lies, dealing with abuse, dealing with just lots of heartache. She set her foot down and decided, hey, I don't want this life for my daughter. If I want her to have something different than this, then I need to be the example. I need to be the person that changes that for her. And I will be forever grateful for my mom for doing that. because it taught me that the circumstances that you are born into or that you are brought into don't need to remain forever. We have the power to change that. We have the power to change our narrative. We have the power to change our futures. And she chose to change that by saying, "This is enough. We're leaving to the United States." And that's where my journey began in the US. And the people that supported us in that journey were instrumental to everything that I have been able to build and become. I will forever be grateful to them and my warrior mom.
And I mean, when I read your chapter, we talked about it, and then it's one thing to hear the story, and I kind of knew parts of the story, but then the first time you read it and you go like, oh, wow. Like, talk about making massive changes in a lifetime within one generation, and then also realizing it at the same time. Like, it is, yeah, for the readers, go to leadersadapt.com/book. The book is dropping on September 25th. And we're also launching communities to support women and to for all the male allies out there, because not everyone have your mom.
No, no. And, coming from Hispanic cultures, I saw other friends even that had the same issues, alcoholism, not very educated. Well, the education was lacking, or we're all first generation immigrants. We all had those same struggles where we were translating for our parents because we adapted to the English language a lot faster than our parents. Our parents came here and started working. We went to school, so we were translating for our parents. We were that crutch to our parents while they were assimilating to a new country, and we were also thrown into a new lifestyle where we were there to figure out for ourselves, okay, how do you grow up into an adult's world without that adult, because you're helping them. So it was definitely a lot of people that have probably been in my situation can relate to, just you didn't have an adult there for you. You had to be the crutch to that adult and grow up faster.
And not only did you have that situation, you also have your dad's situation at the same time. If you
Correct.
could fly back in time, Carolina, and you could meet yourself at those years, what would you whisper in your own ear?
If I could fly back to that situation, I would say that change is possible through me.
Did you doubt that for many years?
I didn't doubt it. I didn't doubt that it was possible, but for some reason, I thought that it was someone else's actions that would change that, not necessarily mine. And I think it stopped when I made the decision, no, no one's coming to save you.
Mhm.
It is up to you. That's when it was definitely, okay, it's go time. We're going.
This is one of the reasons why we named the book Power Without Permission. You have the power, you don't need permission, you need to start taking action.
Certainly.
Walk us through the some of the challenges you got at. I mean, you're in a very male-dominated profession. You're very few women in construction. Um, you have one very funny story in the book. I don't know if you want to share it here, but how you I don't want to use the words, but when you walk into a job site and then you have to sort of balance that whole being a mom and being a woman with all men around you and all of that.
It's been a double-edged sword. At the beginning, it was very hard to step into a role of macho Hispanic, Mexican, Salvadorian, Hispanic men and telling them, hey, I think we need to do this plan a certain way, um, because A, B, and C. At the beginning, they would just see, oh, there's this chick coming across the lawn, and they would see me just like a piece of meat went on a really hungry, deserted area. But as they would see me more constantly and just showing up and really teaching them like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And stepping in, just constantly stepping in without questioning whether I belong there or not. Again, without permission. Like, I'm going to be here, I'm going to take up space. And this is the way we're going to do things, guys. And I think that really um, gained, I gained their respect because they didn't see me give up. Even when I was pregnant, when I was on my last days and they would see me coming in every day. They didn't think I would be there certain days, and I sure was there. That definitely gained their respect. It's like, okay, she's not gonna give up. She's still here, and she's here to stay.
What I am so admire with you is some women that sadly that are in this situation where there's a lot of men, they start leading with masculine energy. You're the opposite. You're extremely feminine. And you're very warm. You're a very caring individual, but you're also very firm. Have those thoughts ever come to you of who am I and how do I still lead with power in this situation?
Yes, I have been put up in different positions where that smile that would have been a greeting smile is sometimes or has been taken as flirtatious and where it shouldn't have been flirtatious, where it's like, hey, this is a friendly hello. And I am very, it's that sixth sense where I can read it. Okay, you've taken that the wrong way. So I'm able to like retract back up and say, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to provide a service. I'm here to be a colleague. I am here to do all things in a professional manner. Um, So it does take some relying on that sixth sense to know how to turn that switch and remind people in the room like that's not what we're here to do. We're here to do business, and it needs to be done right.
How did you finally earn the respect from your employees? There are a few stories in the book. I know a few stories, but which one do you think is some of the most pivotal ones? Respect as true respect as a woman leader. And for the readers of the book, there are stories where Carolina steps into the role as a CEO of this company, leads the company, and um, yeah, she is an amazing, powerful leader. But I also know you lead from the front with your team. So is there a specific situation that come to mind?
The situation where I knew that I had gained their respect was definitely when we had a really angry client just berate one of our team members. And everyone stood in disgust at the way that this person had just treated one of our team members. And because sometimes the client is not always right, I set my foot down and I said, I am sorry. We are packing our stuff and we are leaving. We will not stand for this. This goes against our core values. And we don't treat people in this form, in this manner, in our community. And we left. We packed up and left. And I remember that team member's face that day. He just looked up at me like, I just cost you this client. And I said, no, you didn't. He cost himself this unpainted room now. Let's go. Because it goes back to our core values. Like, we don't treat each other that way. Even our clients need to have a certain respect for us, and I will not stand for it.
What would you tell the listeners? Let's say that you have a few women out there who are in these very male dominated professions, sometimes talked over, sometimes not given enough space, all these things, and are doubting themselves. What would you tell them?
I would tell women that are doubting themselves that everyone doubt is out there doubting themselves, and we are too busy thinking that all eyes are on us, and we need to let go of that thought. We need to believe in ourselves first, and if something needs to be said, take your time to say it in the right form and manner that will allow you to vocalize your thoughts well. But if you feel it needs to be said, you need to say it and stop asking for permission. The power is there. You need to take it and go with and use it.
Beautiful. Just before we started recording here, I said I had last minute, literally before the deadline. It was literally minutes before I shipped the book to get it sort of printed. I swapped around Carolina's chapter. She didn't even know it. Just I told her
Uh-oh.
just before this interview, and one of the main reasons why I did that was because I think the part of your story where you are talking about sort of that next generation and how your mother gave you an opportunity and how you have been raising your daughter and all the things that comes with it. I just thought it was a beautiful way of sort of pivoting that chapter and giving hope to the readers. Can you walk us, like, tell the listeners um what that section is about in the book? You can give the full story if you want to. I think it's such an important one, Carolina.
Yes, no, absolutely. Even today, as well, every day, I have the support of my mom still. I have her right next door. And I see so many Latinas, so many working moms out there that are able to do the work they do because of the support they have. And my mom has always been that support from day one. And I want to bring my daughter along on my I have brought her along on the childhood, on the healing of the childhood, on the options and obstacles that were put in front of me, that I knew that if I continued the path that I had seen my father go through, I could expect my children to go down that path as well. And I could not afford, or I could not gamble that opportunity. I knew that I had been raised in an alcoholic household, that alcohol, when I was out drinking and partying and doing the same things, I started to act and do the things that I hated the most about my father. I started to see them in myself. And that scared me. That terrified me. I knew that that was not an option. Like, I had to leave those things aside for my future kids. Like, I didn't, how could I complain about having seen my father laying on the bed with that smell of drunk and alcohol filling the room? To this day, I still feel that stench.
Mhm.
I could not stand my kids they haven't seen a drunk person in their life. Like, they've seen it in movies, and they asked me one day, my daughter said, "What's a drunk?" And it made my heart smile, because I said, dang it, I have achieved it. Like, the fact that my daughter doesn't know what a drunk is. And that to me is what this is about. It's changing that, changing all the cycles that we can for our children. That when they come back and say, "Hey, what's this?" Like, my God, thank goodness that you don't know what that is. Because I fought so hard for them to not know what that was. So I want that for our youth. They don't have to be stuck in abusive relationships. Yes, you saw your mother be in an abusive relationship. You need to be the one to show your daughter that you can't stand for it, because then she feels like she needs to stand there, and she doesn't have the power to change that. And that is not true. We can change our narratives. We can rewire our brains. And that was thanks to one of the guests that you brought, Layla.
Mhm.
She's on this book too.
No, Layla is not on the book.
Oh, Layla's not on the
No,
book. I'm
no,
sorry. She's in our
yeah,
CEO.
yes,
Yeah, she's in our CEO group.
correct. But yeah, you're right. And I think what I want to point out here to the listeners is Carolina realized that the generational problems, if things are going to change, like her mother realized if she takes her kids from Mexico to US if you basically decided to stop your generational problem with alcohol. And I think that's the whole point. Like, I want to, with the book, I want to start changing things. And Carolina, one of the podcast guests said, we should make an interview of you. You should be on your own podcast and we get to interview you. But it's like, why did I start writing a book about changing your mindset and especially to women? And it is because I was brought up by a very strong woman who made a big difference in my life, and she made decisions that benefited me, but she always taught not to judge others. And it doesn't matter gender or religion or where you come from, like nothing really matters. Look at the individual. But I think my mom, without knowing, also stopped a couple of generational problems that we had. And I am doing the same with my kids. Your mom did the same. You're doing the same with your kids, with your daughter, especially Carolina. And I think it's so important. If we want change, it starts with small micro actions. And this is the reason why I wrote the book. I'm tired of seeing just men in the top of a lot of companies. I'm tired of seeing all these brilliant, amazing women like Carolina who just didn't get the opportunity in corporate. I wanted to change it. That's why I wrote Power Without Permission. You say one thing in the book, Carolina, that the early readers commented on. Many of them, I haven't even told you this, many of the early readers commented on what you said. And you said that if what you saw growing up and the change your mom did, your daughter is now seeing what you have accomplished.
Yes.
What future holds her? Tell us why. How did you come up with that, and like how did you see that, and what does it mean for you?
When during the summer, my daughter gets to come along with me to work, and I do it. One, they don't need to hang out with their devices all day long, but the most important part is I want her to experience what her mother really does on a daily basis. And she, at the end of the day, she'll say, "Wow, we didn't even get to eat lunch." I said, "Yes, some days are like that." But she gets to see that I too I'm still vulnerable. I too still have hard days. I too still have people saying no to me. And that is okay. That is just one more time we get to try something that didn't work. And I don't want her to be afraid. That this is one thing that she's very cautious and not as bold as I once was, but that's also a good thing. I see a leader in her, and I have asked her to change some wording and some ways that we see things. And instead of being afraid, like always change it for something new. She would say, "Mom, I'm afraid of this." And I said, "Well, maybe you're not, it's new. So let's change the word afraid for new or for challenging or unknown or discomfort. What is another word we can replace for the word scared or afraid? Let's try to refrain from using that." And not too long ago, she came back and said, I that conversation we had, it's been a life, it's been changing. Like it's uncomfortable, but I know that now I have to find some comfort in the practice of it and get used to certain things. So just one simple word or vocabulary use can affect our actions.
So good, Carolina. And I really hope the listeners understand that unless you change yourself and unless you make the effort, and it's not easy, life is not always easy. Many times it's not easy, but you have to take control of it. And that's the only way how you stop the generational problem. It starts with awareness. It starts with recognizing some of the doubts you have, imposter syndrome, all these other things. And then you start working with it. But the outcome is that your daughters, your sons, um, they will start at a different level compared to where you're at.
Yes.
And I think that is so powerful. And your daughter, what is
Yes.
she seeing? She's seeing a incredible CEO badass woman that is basically bossing around the men. That's her reality.
Yes, she does. And she I love that she also sees that, hey, I you have this army of men that back you,
Mhm.
that support you. And I know that once we have gained that, it sucks that we have to prove ourselves, but I feel like I did that long, long ago with my team. And now I have an army of men that just support me and I support them. And they know that the relationship is symbiotic and it just means the world.
Yeah. Let's jump. We can go on so many more topics related to this. Please go buy the book, Power Without Permission. Go to leadersadapt.com/book and you will find it there September 25. We will also host a long online event on that day. I'll be giving away free coaching
Yes.
for 3 months to someone in whoever
Wow.
signs up there. So and I will help you work through this. So if the story here resonates and you can see the journey that Carolina have done, I can maybe help you. Um, More information to come soon about the event. I'm running a little bit behind on that one. Let's jump into rapid fire questions, Carolina. Um, Quick question, quick answer. We don't have to dwell on it. It just is what it is. What's the number one belief you had to retire?
The number one belief I had to retire was no one's coming to save you.
Oh, good. That's true. And what did you do about it?
You need to take action yourself. You have the power to change the narrative.
Beautiful. What's a rule you broke that will improve the outcome?
A rule I broke.
For the listeners, this is really hard for Carolina because she's a rule follower.
I'm a rule follower.
She's very, maybe we can skip that one, but
Yes.
we'll skip that, but keep it in. Anyway, finish this sentence. Power without permission means,
You don't need permission to believe in yourself. You have the power.
yeah. What's one micro ritual you do before you have a hard conversation to recenter your mind?
I think of love. How does this person show me love, and how do I show love to this person? Have I shown enough love to this person? And I don't focus on the anger part, all or the frustrations. I have now practiced this last few weeks is love, reframing.
Oh, beautiful. Carolina, if you don't adapt, you
Die. Totally. You die.
die a little bit every day, but just a little bit quicker.
Yes. Either definitely emotionally, spiritually, but we have to adapt. We have to grow. And if we're not growing, we're in a place of comfort, and comfort's a dangerous place.
Comfort leads to regrets on your deathbed.
100%.
Carolina, thank you so much for jumping on this podcast, for being part of the book.
On the contrary.
Where can the listeners find you, and who should be reaching out?
Instagram, Carol, CAROAL .E.NA.
Awesome. And I can see if we can leave a link for this show as well. Your chapter in the book, super powerful. I just told you it's one of the last chapters of the book, and the reason is that you inspire hope for generations to come, but it all comes from micro action and taking control of your brain today, so you have the ability to do it for the next generation. For listeners out there as well, if this podcast made a difference for you, if you feel like it can make a difference for someone else, I would highly appreciate if you go to Apple Podcasts and you search up Adapt or Die, leave a 5-star rating, and that way you're helping another person move beyond their doubts. I think Carolina's extremely positive attitude, amazing leadership is sort of the personification of power without permission. And I want to thank the rest of the listeners here today as well. And remember, in leadership, unless we adapt and thrive, we will not survive. Thank you. Bye.